In this video, we are going to cover some useful modelling tools in Blender that will give you more flexibility with your modelling. Before I start going into these tools, I want to explain a key word to you, and that is topology. So what is topology? Topology is essentially the structure of a model, the makeup of its various vertices, edges and faces. What you are seeing right now on this cube, this is essentially the topology of the model. Now that you know that, I'm going to explain to you how we can grant ourselves further flexibility with a mesh's topology. First of all, I'm going to introduce you to beveling. Beveling simply adds a bevel to your mesh. This is better explained on screen, so watch what I do. I'm going to make sure I'm in edit mode, and then in edge select mode. Let's select this edge. Right click to bring up the menu, and you'll see this option here called Bevel Edges. As you can see, it is now beveling. Left click to confirm the action. But of course, we also want to learn the hotkey. If you look here, Control and B is the hotkey for bevel edges. So if we do Control and B, we bevel. Another cool trick is if we use the middle mouse button. If we scroll that, we're able to create more topology on our bevel. Again, left click to confirm the action. The next useful tool that I will show you is loop cuts. Loop cuts add extra edges to the topology of your mesh. It doesn't matter which selection mode you're in. I'm going to dive straight into the hotkey for this one. While in edit mode, select Control and R. You will see a yellow line that appears around your mesh. This is essentially where it can add a new line on the topology. If I left click to confirm the action whilst the yellow line is visible, it will create the line and allow us to move it around before it confirms placement. If I right click now, the loop cut will go into the middle so that it is nice and uniform around our cube. Let's make another loop cut on the other side of the mesh. Once the yellow line is visible again, scroll on your mouse wheel and you will create multiple loop cuts. Left click to confirm the selection and then right click to keep the loop cuts in a uniform position. We can now use these loop cuts to manipulate the mesh further as we now have more topology to work with. Another useful thing I want to show you is how to select multiple lines or vertices or even faces. For example, let's say I wanted to select both of these lines. With one line selected, if I now hold down the Shift key and select another line, you will see that it selects both lines at the same time. Again, holding down the Shift key, I can come to this line here, and now I have 3 lines selected. Let's say I want to select all of these lines here going around the cube. Instead of coming here and then shift clicking on each line, I can instead come up to the line, hold down the Alt key and then select with the left mouse button. Blender will try its best to select all the lines in the pattern. The next tool is Extrusion. Extrusion can be done in any selection mode, but we will demo it using the face select mode. I will select a random face, and now if we click the E button, it will extrude the face. I'm just going to undo that, and now I'm going to show you the other 2 extrusion options. I'm going to Alt click one of these lines or faces even, to select all of the faces around the middle of this cylinder. If I right click, you will see there are two extrusion options. Extrude faces along normals and extrude individual faces. You see, if I was to just click the E button, it will give me very odd results. So what I can do is use one of these options. If I use extrude faces along normals, it extrudes all of the faces all together and keeps them all linked. Now, if I was to use extrude individual faces, it extrudes each individual face, but they are not linked, as you can see. So you're able to get some very interesting shapes by doing this. Next up is the Inset Faces tool, which is a handy little feature if you need to create borders or rims for an object. Let's go into face select mode. Select a face and then press the I button to inset the face. Left click to confirm your selection. This allows us to create even more interesting shapes. For example, I could then use extrusion with this, inset that face, extrude again, etc. I am now going to show you another very powerful tool, which you will probably use a lot, and this is called Subdivision. Subdivision essentially divides up the topology of the mesh and gives you more, topology to work with. I'm going to show you how you can do it and what it looks like. In edit mode, let's make sure the entire cube is selected. If it is not, press the A button to select everything. Right click to bring up the menu and then select Subdivide. You can now see that the cube has been divided up into more faces. This gives us denser topology to work with, but be very careful when doing this. More detailed topologies increase file sizes, and extremely detailed topologies can even cause Blender to start to lag. You can also subdivide a specific face. For example, if I select this face here, right click and then subdivide, you can see it's now divided that specific face. Thank you for watching. We are now starting to get into a position where we can work on our very first 3D model in Blender. I would advise you to read up on your notes or even re-watch some of the previous tutorial videos before you move on. Sometimes it helps to watch things a second time to pick up on things that you did not notice the first time around. In the next video, we are going to go through a few more helpful Blender tricks and tools before finally moving over to working on our first 3D model in Blender.